Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Magnetic Woman Show. I'm your host, Lauren Joyce, and I'm actually recording this on video as well for all of my fans, followers on YouTube. And today I want to talk about the fear of owning your truth. So you may or may not have seen already, but next week, actually starting this Sunday, I am hosting a 14 speaker event called the REDvolutionary Speaker Series. And I have been having the most incredible conversations with the leaders and visionaries who are speaking, presenting, teaching for this series. And one theme that has been really consistent throughout all of the interviews and all of the content that the women have been giving me is what happens when we're afraid to own the fullness of who we are. And more than that, what I notice, what I've seen and experienced, and a lot of the women who I'm interviewing and having these like incredible conversations with have experienced is the feeling of we're the only ones who have this fear, right? And I think especially when we're so overly connected online, so we are tapped into so many people's social medias. And if you follow a lot of people in personal development, spiritual development, coaches, mentors, things like that, it can seem like, oh, they have no problem being their full selves. But why am I so afraid to like go out there and share my work or talk about this thing that I think is going to make people not like me? Why am I the only one who has this fear? And the reality is you are not alone in that fear of being your full self. You're not alone in really like living out your truth, whatever that looks like. So for many of the women who've already signed up for the event, which we have like hundreds globally. So if you want to sign up, you want to go to themagneticwoman.com/REDvolutionary. And the link is below in the show notes or in the description on YouTube so that you can join us there. But, if you are signed up for this series, chances are you know that you're here to have a massive impact in the world. You know that you have something you're meant to bring forward. And quite frankly, you're meant to live in a way that is not the model and mold that we've been given for a woman throughout our lives, right? So many of the women who are gathering within this series and within the community that's developing from it talk about their desires, the vision for their relationships, their business, wanting to bring an element of sacredness into their life and into their leadership. And yet the majority of people that we're surrounded by are not focused on those things, right? Are not thinking about how do I live my purpose, be very well compensated, and do it in a way that feels sacred and grounded. A lot of the women that we're surrounded by are not like, how do I make my relationship so incredible that it feels like one of the easiest parts of my life? Because oftentimes the narrative for relationships, specifically with women, is complaining, sacrificing, martyring yourself, like, and creating a sense of connection with other women by complaining about how challenging and awful your relationship is, right? And we see this all the time. We see it with so many conversations amongst women. It's like, who can complain or prove that they're really having the hardest time right now? And so the REDvolutionary series and community that's being developed over there is about women connecting based on thriving, connecting based on our desires. And yes, of course, talking about how we can support each other when we all go through challenging times, because we do, that's part of the human experience. But really changing the conversation from like, I feel like I need to hide part of myself, shrink myself, not fully express my desires because they won't be welcome, I won't be accepted, I'll be judged, I'll be shamed, I'll be criticized, into all parts of me are welcomed inside of this community. And not only that, I am with like-minded women who are revolutionary, who are leading their lives in a different way. And that different way is going to look, ironically, different for every single woman, right? So throughout this series, we're talking about how to create and show up fully expressed in your version of your ideal partnership. We're talking about the link between eroticism, sexuality, and money. We're talking about what it means to lead in a sacred way and how to run a sacred business or run your purpose from a space of sacredness. We're talking about incorporating pleasure and turn on into every aspect of your life. We're talking about how to work out and eat to support your female hormones so that you're really living from a space of vitality, right? Because I'm not going to lie. One of the main reasons why I wanted to host this series is because I was feeling so frustrated with the fact that I was part of all of these different communities, and I felt like I could only bring certain parts of myself out in each one of those communities, right? And so I never really found a space where I felt fully nourished, fully seen. And I realized that, of course, with self-development and personal development, every coach, mentor community has like their zone of genius. And so it makes sense that you're going to this person to learn about marketing skills and you're going to this person to learn about working out. And in a way, we kind of have to piecemeal some of these things together. But I also wanted a space where I could talk about all facets of my life and all facets of my life were welcomed, and where I could be receiving information about all facets of my life. And after years and years of not finding it, I decided to create it, right? And so for me, what it means to be a REDvolutionary woman, red is the color that is synonymous with the sacred feminine, with the goddess, and it's also this color that is linked to women who, in a lot of ways, defy the patriarchy. The Scarlet Letter, women like that, only quote women like that wear red. It's a sign to women who tend to be provocative and profane. And the word profane means outside of the temple, right? And so to me, where I see leadership for women, where I see us going in terms of personal and spiritual development, is the red woman, quite frankly. It's a REDvolutionary, a woman who is living her life in a revolutionary way compared to the generations before her, and who's doing it in a red way. So for me, that red way is this merging of the sacred feminine and sexuality, the sacred feminine and sensuality, the sacred feminine and eroticism, right? Because that was another thing that I really found was in a lot of the spiritual spaces that focused on goddesses and the divine feminine, there was this disconnection from pussy, from the erotic, from sensuality. And then there were spaces where sensuality and sexuality was centered, and they tended to be tantric. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not my spiritual path. I don't read the sutras. I don't use Sanskrit in every day, and I'm not following tantric spiritual practices. So I learned a lot of tantric based sexuality practices that I have since evolved in what feels authentic to me. But I remember when I first got my sexuality certification, or sexuality coaching certification, and I would come out and say like, oh, I'm a tantric, blah, 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 blah. And it felt like I was performing. It felt like I was playing a part because, again, my spiritual practice was not tantric, right? And again, for me, what I see over and over and over is this fear that what I want as a woman and fill in the blank for that desire, that wanting is too much. It's too weird, it's too out there, it's not possible, or it's possible for others and not for me, right? This is another theme that came up through these interviews, talking about how our mind loves to make us be this like to be quote unquote special, right? So it's like you see all these women living vibrantly and creating and designing their lives, and it's like, oh, that's for them, but not for me. I am so special that no matter what I did, I can't have that, right? And it's just this funny thing that our mind does. But the question is, why are we so afraid to be the fullest expression of ourselves? Well, for centuries, women who tried to be full expressions of themselves were penalized, institutionalized, hurt, cast out, divorced, left, mocked, tortured. The fear that lives inside of our nervous system that if I am my full self, I will not be okay, is real. But one of the beautiful things about the REDvolutionary speaker series is we talk about how pleasure is the medicine for that fear. Pleasure is the healing modality for that fear. And it is a continual evolution. It is a continual process. One of the things that I am so excited about with this series is the community element. Now, we've all signed up for free, like multi-speaker events, and it's basically like you get an email every day with the videos, and that's great. But I don't know about you, I have spent so much time by myself behind my computer screen the last 3 years. And while, yes, the delivery of this is virtual because it provides for a much larger reach, I am doing everything that I can to cultivate a sense of community and connection throughout the week together. So it doesn't feel like you're just watching these videos on your laptop by yourself, but that you're actively engaged with other REDvolutionary women. So we have a free Facebook group that we're going to be engaging in discussions and talking about the different speakers. And every single day, Sunday, March 26th through Friday, March 31st, I am personally leading a live discussion and ritual and pleasure practice. Because one of the things, again, as we're talking about what it takes to be a woman who, you know, basically like puts her middle finger up to the patriarchy and marches to the beat of her own drum, again, it's scary. It can bring a lot up for us. And we are using pleasure as the healing modality. We are using pleasure as the medicine to confront those fears, to confront those uncomfortable edges and spaces within ourselves emotionally, unconsciously, as we grow and step into our full expression. And again, one of the biggest stories that we have as women is I'm the only one that's experiencing this. I'm the only one with this fear. I'm the only one who has this story or this whatever. And while every single woman has gone through, you've gone through your own personal experience and your own life. And while, yes, your examples are unique to you, that fear is not unique. That fear that if I'm my full self, I will not be okay. And so while so many of us are longing and yearning for a deeper sense of sacredness, a depth to our lives, fun, excitement, turn on, we're also really aching for true sisterhood, true community where all parts of us are welcomed, and where we get to connect with other like-minded women that we don't feel too much with. So I would love it if you joined me for the REDvolutionary speaker series. My goal is to have hundreds, if not thousands, of women across the globe tuning in next week to these incredible, incredible speakers. So the way it works is you sign up, it's completely free. And then next week, every single day, you'll get the video content from the speakers. We have the Facebook group, we have the live calls. All of the videos are available for 5 days. Everything's recorded so that you can watch it at your own pace. Now, the videos are disappearing after 5 days because I want you to be plugged into this community. I want you to be engaged in this community. This is not something I want you to sign up for thinking that you'll watch it in 4 months, right? Now, if you're like, that is the only way that I can do this, there is a VIP option where you can get lifetime access to the videos, and that's amazing. But the fact of the matter is, you are on the leading edge of feminine leadership, right? And this series is bringing together some of the top leaders and visionaries to support you with tools, practices, content, and connection to really step into the fullest expression of yourself, to remember your power, to resurrect the sacred feminine, and to reignite pleasure and turn on in your life. So go to themagneticwoman.com/REDvolutionary or click the link below, and please share this with the women in your life. Invite your mom, your sisters, your friends, your sister-in-law, your coworkers. I know it can feel like you're the only one that wants this. And while I do believe that our numbers are still small, as in we're not the majority, there are so many more women that you realize that are so deeply hungry for the same things that you are. All right, my loves, I really hope I see you next week, and I'm sure I will be bringing another podcast episode to you soon. Have a good one.